I did operate as if there was no such thing as a psychopath outside a comic book, or a movie. And the fact that they exist means that you have to recalibrate your behavior in the world. Uh, but I am an optimist, and I think that the bulk of humans want to go in a direction that we would call humanistic and loving, and I think that we can make society that's much more a model of what we want it to be rather than what it is presently. So, and I think that there are incredible things ahead of us, incredible wonders, space travel, Lord knows, life extension. Where do we stop? I was made by growing up in Northern Ireland in the middle of a conflict, as what my father called a shooting match, and it really was a shooting match, at least for a period. So that profoundly affected me. And we knew as well that the news lied. We knew, like, we were addicted to the news. They would go quiet. The house would go quiet when the news was on. But we knew from we had experiential knowledge that the army, for instance, would kill people and then lie about it, and the BBC would lie about it and continue lying about it. And when you have one reality that you know to be true and another reality being presented to you on your television, it's very sobering, and a lot of people become very cynical. For me, I was very curious about how this could be and how meaning could be manufactured and maintained like this. I'm very open with people, probably as open as ever, but I'm more tactful, a little more tactful about it now. But I have been, invited to dinners with very influential people in the art world here, for instance, and told them about 9/11, and told them about Oma over the dinner table, which frankly they really, 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 really didn't want, and probably wasn't the smartest thing to do. Career-wise was disastrous, but and probably not strategic. Like, I probably would have been better to make a relationship with them first where they knew that I was, sane, relatively sane, and, not stupid, and then introduce these ideas. But I seized the moment and probably seized the wrong moment. So there's a lot of that to it. It's a very interesting question because it actually relates slightly to the thing of being an artist. Because, like, contemporary art, is very obviously very different from art 150 years ago or 100 years ago almost. We have Duchamp and the urinal and all of that carry on, and art can be anything almost, and it takes more challenging forms. Even though I make pictures that look like pictures, and so there's a thing among artists that people will ask you. A taxi driver will ask you, "What do you do?" And they will be very reluctant to say, because he will go, "What do you paint?" You know, and so that's an issue for artists. And there's a lady called Susie Gablick, an extremely interesting artist herself, who's written a book called The Reenchantment of Art. And she said that this is a moment in history, and still is probably, where art was one of the things that could actually provide meaning to people when people had lost meaning at the end of religion, and when we've entered this sudden media world cacophony of views and lies, as we know, but most people don't know. And she was suggesting that art actually was in a position to take up that torch of meaning in people's lives, and it's a very powerful, very interesting argument. And one of the things she says was that artists were retreating into the media world, where you were building your reputation, and the funny thing is, I was reading her book when I was at a film festival where they were using my pictures, and I was looking at my internet hits at the time. The website was just becoming an important thing, and I was slightly obsessed with my hits. And she was arguing that artists should give away their cameras and should talk to people, which is really an amazing argument. And the truth is, I now do it. If I'm in a taxi, I will tell them what I do, and not only that, I will tell them about my experiences and those things. And I'm sure that 1 in 20 of them ring the cops afterwards. I don't know. And I'm sure that they talk about this fucking mental or whatever, I don't know. But some of them will go, "You know what, and didn't that building fall? And didn't they lie about that stuff? And sure, don't they lie all the time?" So you are actually affecting people, and they're going, artists aren't that, I know artists are weird, but I met that one and he was actually very interesting. I don't know. If I could change one thing of the world today, I think I would want everyone to know about the incidence of psychopathy in human society, because I was shocked that it is 1 to 4%, and probably a few percent, and that they are like real psychopaths, and that they really, that the definition is that they do not have automatic empathy, and so they are, dangerous to the rest of us because they're not operating on the same moral basis, and our whole society is modelled around a theory that people behave in certain ways, and the fact is the psychopaths are running on different rails. And I think we can probably get along with them in the end. There is a good argument that if you want somebody to run into a battlefield and rescue the wounded, psychopaths are good at that. They like it, and they're not afraid. And so there are roles for them in society, undoubtedly, but it's not run in fucking hospitals or governments or armies, or space travel or anything else really important. Being awake means to me that attitude of kind of optimistic skepticism. I'm a skeptical optimist. There's an American comedian, the guy with long hair. He says, "Oh, I'm a peripheral visionary." He says, "I can see the future, but only right out to one side." Which is really nice. But I think that there might be that aspect of it that I mean, I have to deal with, I have to go to the local shops and I have to deal with normal life and I have a sort of career. But at the same time, I have a different model of what's going on from the television news one. And But my model would include, knowing that I don't know what the hell is going on. And I think that that's probably the most awake position. The truthing stuff freaks people out completely. I've had a friend in the photography world who, I was concerned that he was in a position of curating and that kind of stuff. And though we were friends and he obviously admired my work, wasn't including me in things. And I eventually said, look, there must, what is it? Will you tell me? Is it this political stuff? And he said, no, no, it's just, where people know we're friends, it wouldn't be appropriate. And I said, look, really, do me a favour and tell me. He said, you've got to shut the fuck up, which was a kindness to me. And I did actually shut the fuck up a little. But again, because I lacked tact, very definitely. And I think one of the things that people who are awake should do is remember what it was like to be on the other side of that fence, because a lot of the subjects that are involved are very disturbing to people and very hard and mind-boggling and unlikely and are heavily propagandized against, and they have so many defenses against them. They really, it's a slow process for most people, and you've got to meet people where they are, not really where you'd like them to be. And I've been through the stages of being angry at people and all of that stuff, but it really doesn't help. So, but I smell the same thing as I did 30 years ago. I know that my art that refers to 9/11 and all of that, and I know that it's really good art and that it is hugely ignored. It's being studiously ignored. On the other hand, some of it is getting through. Some of it is getting through, which is really amazing. Like a work I did around 2007, which was called Searching for Evidence. And it's saying, look, we don't know. You don't know what you're seeing. It could be right in front of your nose. And those pictures are getting published, getting included in conferences. So there's sociologists writing about them, which is really very interesting. So they have the intellectual apparatus and the knowledge to meet that work in the middle. And that's a huge lesson to me, actually. I want to bang the drum and say, look, 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 look. And I've tried that, and I've tried it with shock and various things, and that sort of works. But the truth is that there is an immense natural resistance out there, and you're going to have to deal with it, if you want to reach people. Well, I'm still quite interested in the UFO thing because I'm still trying to film and photograph UFOs and successfully photographing and successfully film them to my shock. To be entirely honest, I was shocked that you can simply take enough pictures at the right time. I don't know why it happens. Um, I am sniffing around weird clouds is partly what I'm doing, but I am also have spent hundreds of hours doing it, and with very good cameras set up to do it, and I have infrared cameras and all of that stuff set up. So I mean, I've been doing it very seriously. So, but it is astonishing that you can simply photograph UFOs above Dublin, Ireland, different varieties of UFOs that are not they're not man-made objects. Well, they might be man-made objects, some of them, but they're very odd man-made objects if they are. So that's like how could that not be fun? I think that actually that there is a kind of consciousness revolution going on under the surface, and it's bubbling up in loads of different little cultural memes, and that there actually probably would should be will be some kind of consciousness revolution actually happening when a critical mass is reached or something. I mean, that's actually not impossible at all.